Listen up, Zazzle Designers. This video is for you because in this video, we're going to be talking about the one thing that you need in order to see success with Zazzle. You don't want to fail, right? You don't want to make 2025 your worst year yet. You want to make 2025 your best year yet on Zazzle. So my name is Jennifer Clarke, and I'm here with my mother, Elke Clarke, and both her and I are coaches and mentors, and we teach people how to make money online with Zazzle, and we are the go-to Zazzle experts for anything you want to learn about how to start an online business with Zazzle and also become profitable with your business. And yes, today in this video, we're going to be talking about sales planning for 2025 and why it's so important.
I'm really excited to get into this, but we want to also explain to you how important this one thing is. It's, like on Instagram, when you see those posts, it goes like, don't post another thing on Instagram until you know these secrets. And it's kind of that thing where if you don't do this, then you really do have a good chance of failing because you're not focused, you're not really understanding what goal you're trying to achieve and also how you're going to get there. And we have this, we've started just doing it willy-nilly, throwing spaghetti against the wall kind of way. And the only way that we ended up becoming successful and making those big bucks on Zazzle every year was when we finally did this process. So let's talk about it. Like, what is the process? What's involved? And gives you some examples too in terms of people that have had success with it and that we've had success with it. And let's just dive in, and we won't make it very long. The most important thing is that you know that this has to happen, and then how are you going to put it in place for yourself?
Yeah. And from my own perspective, when I first started out on Zazzle back in 2008, I had no idea that I needed a sales plan. It was just more of a hobby for me. And that's probably where a lot of people start their Zazzle journey, is not understanding that you need to really map out the entire year. Because if you really do want to reach a consistent income and have monthly income coming in, unfortunately, that means that you need to be selling each month, fortunately or unfortunately. And depending on what type of products you are posting for sale, when you post those products for sale, and also what your monthly earnings income goal is, that you have to understand those like numbers, they come from somewhere. They have to come from sales. And do you actually have the inventory in your store to produce those numbers, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's so important because everyone, including myself, is like, I'm going to make this money, but then you don't actually have things that you've done in order to make it even possible, right? It's sort of like, I'm going to make a pizza, but not actually have pizza dough at home. You've got the pepperoni, you've got the cheese, because you've got your creativity, you have the ideas, you kind of feel like this is a business that you can set up and run as a print-on-demand business, but you don't actually have the basis on what to put it, like put all your ingredients on. And this is the basis, the sales planning, which is giving yourself a plan. That's literally what it is. And it's not even a matter of what is it that you're going to do to promote. It's a matter of you understanding what do you have to have in your inventory to make the sales, i.e. planning to have those sales happen in 2025 so that you can actually reach your goal, which is the earnings. So yeah. And one of the things that I really want to touch on first is a lot of people don't feel comfortable doing this, right? They don't feel comfortable because it's math, or they have to, Google Sheets or some sort of Excel or spreadsheet program. They don't then know how to deal with the numbers, especially for someone who's already on Zazzle and they've had, even if it's any other print on demand, but any business where you have data that has the ability to actually help you understand what happened is really valuable. And yet, but coming from a science background, any data can be valuable, especially if you analyze it in a certain way. But if that data is not properly, formulated to start with, like you have correct data and also analyzed properly, then you're stuck, right? So I can see the hesitation. I can see, why, like how does this even work? Or like if I don't like math, or if you've got the data but you're afraid that when you look at it, it's not gonna, like, you don't know what to do with it, and or you make the wrong decision because you think this is what the data says, but it really isn't. So all these things come into play, and I totally get it. It's really hard to start with, but that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we've done is like we do this sales planning workshop twice a year. We just finished doing it. So actually, if you're interested, you can still catch the replay and use the workbook and do it at your own pace. And then we have another one in November, because really what you should be doing is sales planning for the next year in the previous year.
Hmm.
But as they say, the best time to do anything is yesterday. The second best time is now.
Yeah. Yeah, and it brings me back to like reminds me of one of our clients who they had been on Zazzle for I want to say almost 7 years, and they had not made very much money throughout that entire length of them being on the Zazzle platform. And then they finally came into our coaching program, and the one thing that had stopped them was understanding the numbers, and it was like they were just paralyzed with the data and didn't want to look at anything or even really plan going forward. It was just like, let's hope it works, fingers crossed. And once we brought them into our coaching program and showed them the numbers, explained everything properly, they finally found out how it clicked for them, right? Because everybody learns in a different process and everybody understands things differently, especially with math and things that we are scared of sometimes. And now they are just thriving. And we received an email previously, not recently, but a couple of years back, saying that we had helped them so much because they had finally made more in 1 month than they had in their entire Zazzle career in those 7 years. And so it was just because she finally was able to make the numbers click for her and also understand the process of sales planning and understanding what type of products need to be in her store so that she can consistently make income month by month. And that's a big thing for a lot of people. And it's interesting because we're looking at almost like the human psychology of things, where you as a Zazzle designer, you are allowed to explore and also step into your own business power, let's call it, being your own boss. Because labeling yourself as just a Zazzle designer or somebody who's just being creative and trying to make money through their creativity, it has this weird shtick to it that, you're not the boss, you're not the business owner, you're not actually somebody who can make cool, like real decisions in the real world of business, which is very weird. At least that's what my understanding was when I first started out, right? I didn't feel like I could be the boss. I was just designing, and even the word just there. And so if you are in that mindset where you feel like you are just designing to try and make money, then you have to switch your mindset and understand that you have to be the boss and you have to make decisions in order to see those results, because those results can be achieved. It's just a matter of understanding how you personally work as a designer and also how you can map out your month by month and year by year. And like Elke mentioned, we just recently held a workshop for sales planning in the beginning of January. So it's now passed, but you have the opportunity to actually get access to those replays. And the link will be in the description of this video. And you get also access to the workbook that you can follow along with. And then in addition to that, we will be hosting another live sales planning workshop in November. So you can think about that and already plan to join that one in November. But it's very important to understand that it's not just you playing around and having fun on Zazzle and trying to make it work. You have to make the decision to be accountable for yourself as a business owner and say, this is a necessity, because sales planning is extremely important. Think about Walmart, think about McDonald's, think about Target, all of those big brand names. They have sales plans for their entire year. They're coming out with new products. They're coming out with promotions. They're coming out with things to entice customers to buy certain things during the time of year. In Canada, we have a place called Tim Hortons, if you don't know. And Tim Hortons during Christmas time, they have all of these really amazing, cool, and cute, I probably personally would never buy them, but like Christmas ornaments with little coffee cups and donuts. And so people during Christmas time can actually buy Christmas ornaments with relation to their brand, Tim Hortons. And so that's a really cool thing to think about, and that they obviously had to have all of that planned out previous to the month of November and December, and have those manufactured, planned out, designed, etc., and then have them in the stores for when people are buying them. You can't just put something out for sale on December 24th and expect everybody to buy it. I did that once. I created a whole bunch of Christmas invitations and Christmas holiday cards literally December 23rd, and I was so upset that I didn't make a sale. It didn't click. I don't know. It didn't click for me for whatever reason, thinking, hey, people need to order. People need to then send out their cards. And then the sending out the cards probably happens in November, not December 23rd. So I learned my lesson the hard way there. because I didn't do a sales plan. It was like, oh, shoot, Christmas is coming up. I need to make Christmas designs now, stat, yesterday.
Yeah. And so Jen brings up such a great point because, yeah, first of all, you've got a plan and you have to realize like how much is involved with people buying the thing that you're making on any online platform, but on Zazzle for sure. Like you have to be able to say, okay, the customer wants it by this day. So first of all, I have to make it a couple like weeks or months before that so that it actually gets, found in the Zazzle marketplace, etc. And all of that is so important to incorporate into when to make a product throughout the year and what like niche you're working on and what use it is or if it's seasonal, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important thing too, like there's double tiered, right? It's like when should you make the product, but also how many products do you need to make and
Yeah.
what kind of niches are you targeting to make that money. And then like in the sales planning workshop, we go into all kinds of details in terms of also just like what's your probability of being successful. Like when you make 100 products, how many actually sell? Well, you have to go and check in the workshop to see what that number is. But and then also like what's your makeup of products. We have this system that we've developed that is very predictable in terms of how you can make sales based on the type of products that you have in your store and irrespective of niches based on a dollar value. And so it'll make it a lot easier if, let's just say, for example, you have a variation of, types of dollars that you're going to make from each of the sales. And whether that's product based or like a combination of whatever the customer value is for you, that's really, really important in assessing what your workflow and how your productivity over the year is going to be based on what you want to achieve as a sales goal and as an earnings goal. And
Mm-hmm.
so even though that just sounds all very technical and businessy, though the basics are basically you want to make this much. Do you have the products to actually get those sales? How frequent, like if you have those products, how do you know you have those products and what's your frequency of not, you know, like having a good seller that actually could make those sales for you? And how much extra inventory do you need in order to make sure that that gives you the best chance of creating those products that are going to give you that money? And
Mm-hmm.
and then also how hard do you have to work, right? Do you want to make 100 products that give you $1 each, or you want to make 100 products that give you $20 each?
Mm-hmm.
And basing all of these criteria together, maybe that's already very overwhelming for you. Don't worry, it's all in the workbook, and then you can just figure it out from there. And it's really cool because once you start to unpack it, as they say, then it becomes a little bit easier and you get to understand how this could work for you. And it's not a cookie cutter thing, right? Obviously, it's based on your data, your niche, your ability, your desire to in terms of how much you want to work, and your desire as to how much you want to make every year to start with. And this formula is all there for you in the workbook, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. So to
Yeah.
wrap this up, then to go and click in the link in the description, excuse me, to get access to the replays. And yes, they are replays, but we did do them live, and you can rewatch them and pause and play back and all of that because they're recorded, and you get access to the workbook. So the link is in the description of this video. And please make sure that you don't miss out on this opportunity to start planning, because if you do actually end up saying, well, I'll just wait for the live one in November, that's many months from now. And that's so many months that you're losing out on the opportunity of making 2025 your best year yet. So if you want to succeed in 2025, take this opportunity, because if you don't, it's the one thing that will make you fail on Zazzle. We've heard so many stories from so many clients saying, I wish I would have come into your coaching program sooner. I wish I would have taken this course sooner. I wish I would have done this sooner, because I wasted so much time trying to do it on my own. And so if you're able to take the opportunity to take part in our sales planning workshop and watch the replays, is definitely an amazing investment for your Zazzle business for 2025. And it will help you on your road to success.
Yeah,
So,
and we're talking about multiple different things there. Jen's talking about the course, and then she's talking about the workshop and this.
Well, just people coming into our community. I mean, yes, we have we have the stories from people who have come into our coaching program, which is our main Profit by Design Academy coaching program. But even if you just join one of our workshops, that is a smaller price point or a free workshop, that's what I'm saying, is that people just, they have many times over and over given us feedback saying, I wish I would have done it before.
Yeah. And so to get started and not fail in 2025, get started with using the workbook and our training for the sales planning workshop. And then you can get a feel for what's involved in you succeeding in 2025.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.